Probably some of the good races that I ran. But, when I look back at my career, the races are such a small part of all the days of training, all the 27,000 miles that I ran. If I look back at the amount of time I spent racing, it's very, very little in terms of the whole scope of thing. And that's the part that's you really don't remember the most of anyway. So, the experience of running and training for me is very different than what people see. Because you see it, but I don't remember it. It happens so quickly, so automatically. So it's like, yeah, I don't recall what you see and what your reality is in my career. It's like very fleeting for me. Yeah, that's the difference. Just like a Lewis Hamilton, after the race is over, so much stimulation, probably doesn't remember anything except really major mistakes if he ran off the track or something like that, but you don't remember that much, especially years and years and years later. So I rely on my fans to tell me what's important and what they remember.
So, like, as an observer of this, how this game has evolved of our sport, uh, any major concerns that you have about sports moving forward, if you could share? There are so many issues in those sports. What do you think? Because we have a new IOC president now.
Yeah.
So, if I have to ask you, like, what are the maybe three key issues which you think needs immediate, attention?
I think the main concern for me would be compensation of athletes, because you have professional athletes from golf, tennis, basketball, soccer coming into the Olympic movement. And then you have your classical sports like track and field, gymnastics, swimming, and these people are still uncompensated. So I think that's what the IOC really needs to deal with, to really make it fair for the athletes who have to spend their own money or really, really sacrifice just to go to the Olympic Games and win the same medal that someone who's making $20 million a year in golf or basketball or even more compete for the same medal. I think that they need to solve that problem.
World athletics in Paris, did it compensate
It's still not enough. When I was running 1978, to win the men's Wimbledon championship was $80,000. Tennis unionized, track and field didn't. American basketball players in 1981-82, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was making $1.2 million a year, and they thought that was blasphemy. They thought that was vulgar to pay a professional athlete that much. That was like 1.2, 1.5 million a year. Their union became strong. Look at where their salaries are now. Track and field did nothing. Tennis unionized, football, baseball, all those sports that have really strong unions, they're making millions of dollars a year. And Olympic sport has been consistently absent in that crew, in that endeavor. Every now and then you have a big star like a Usain Bolt who's really able to have a global package and whatnot. But in 1983, 84, before the Olympic Games, that was me. I was making a lot of money during that time because they loosened up the amateur rules. So track and field is going to continue to be behind until they unionize. And I think there's people that don't want that to happen because that would have implications for a lot of sports. That's my personal opinion.
Sir, also there is this whole cultural, political, legal debate about transgenders in sports. What is your take on that? How do we solve it?
I think that's an issue for the women in sports to decide what kind of sport they want to have. I'm a man, I can't say. There's two different issues. There's a difference in sexual development issue, which is a physical issue, biological issue. And then there's, the whole issue of trans men, trans women in sport. So I personally wouldn't want my daughter to compete against someone who's been a man. And some people say that there's no difference. Trans men, trans women, there's no difference. But I don't know if there's a single case of women going to compete in men's sports the reverse way. So you have to ask your question, why is that the case?
Because this is happening quite frequently now. Uh, Last Olympics also we saw in boxing this huge debate. So
I think that's for women to decide at the end of the day. The women who compete in sports, they're the ones that need to make a decision on that issue, not men. That's my personal feeling.
and so like next year we will have the World Football World Cup in US, like the Olympics also coming up. Uh, there are some concerns about this. Some of the policies under administration. Do you have any concerns about maybe players facing some visa issues or something?
I'm waiting to see what's going to happen, like everyone else. We'll see.
Because in the past also we have seen many, sometimes some issues crops up, but it always sports are going to win. When it happened last World Cup, when it happened, same there was so many concerns about going to the Middle East and all, but things went up pretty well. So about India, you have been into India, you have visited many times. We have Neeraj Chopra as a biggest star. Have you followed his career? Have you?
Who is this?
Neeraj Chopra.
No. The javelin thrower? I just know of him briefly. I haven't really followed it, no. I don't really follow a lot of track and field these days, yeah.
Like, what do you think, can be done? Because India has been like sleeping giant in sports.
They have to spend the money on coaches and infrastructure. There's a lot of other countries in the world, much smaller, much less financial capabilities of India that produce good athletes. So there's the infrastructure is just not there to support athletes and take Olympic sports seriously. They have certain areas in which they're really, really good at, but in general, it's probably just the infrastructure, coaches, stadiums, and dedication to athletes to help athletes become better athletes. If the question is, is it valuable to the country other than cricket, which is the big sport there, right? Yeah. How much do they value other sports that people may not be familiar with?
India is also hosting, has bid for the Commonwealth Games 2030, and also is
Who has?
India has bid.
Yeah.
So such like bringing the Commonwealth Games to India, we had it in 2010. It kind of, do you think it can have that kind of an impact, or maybe Neeraj, the way he has won an Olympic gold and a silver, that can inspire and make a difference?
I don't know. Depends on how what the vision is for having the Commonwealth Games. Is it just to have an event in India, or is it to really develop sports? That's going to be the big question. You can put on the Commonwealth Games or any other event and have all the fanfare and the government involved and people who have nothing to do with sports but don't support it sitting on the front row. That's what you want to avoid. That's generally what happens. So it's going to depend on the people who have been athletes that are able to make things happen.
Also, the Commonwealth Games, 10 sports were cut because of budgetary issues.
Yeah.
And so now we are not getting, when countries are not ready to host, Commonwealth Games. Very few countries are there. And it's a sport like, it's a tournament which is important to a few nations, but the Commonwealth doesn't exist anymore. So the question is, do we still need, what would you do?
I don't know. That's for the people in India to determine. I have no idea because I don't keep up with the politics of sports over there, or what's gone wrong and why isn't a country with 1 billion people better than sports, which doesn't even make sense. Really doesn't make sense. So that's what the question is going to have to be answered within the country. How important is sports really going to be? And who are the people that are going to make it happen if they have a grand vision? Simple as that.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks.